Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researchers Celebrity powered by Empowering Science Foundation. Today we have an esteemed Professor Gauri Shankar Dubey with us. Thank you very much, sir, for taking time out and accepting our invitation for being our
Thank,
listener.
thank you.
So, a brief about Professor Dubey. He has done his bachelor's from Gorakhpur University in agriculture and then pursued master's in plant pathology in agriculture from BHU, Varanasi, and joined PhD in plant pathology at IARI, New Delhi. And with more than 5 decades of experience in research, teaching, extension, and administration, Sir was retired director from PGS and ex-vice chancellor from Birsa Agriculture University also. With this brief introduction, I would welcome Sir at the platform. Thank you, sir, once again. And we
Thank
will
you.
conversation with our standard question that how and when you decided that you wanted to become a researcher.
In fact, I was born in a village very close to district Ambedkar Nagar in UP. Earlier it was used to be district Faizabad in a farmer's family in 1944. In fact, when I was in 10th class in 1959, there was a talk in the government that they are going to introduce Indian agriculture services on the pattern of Indian administrative services. My elder brother, who is an I officer retired as Chief Secretary of Jharkhand and Bihar, advised me that since Indian agriculture services are in offing, I should join agriculture stream for my career. So right at that time, a decision was taken that I should be pushed into agricultural education. And right from 11th onward, I joined the agricultural stream. Now, the second thing was that if you remember during 1960, 62, 63, there was acute food shortage in this country. In the evening, people used to sleep empty stomach. There was nothing to eat. And during 65, 66, 67, we were depending on PL40 wheat imported from USA. So that was the situation. We were producing hardly 50 to 55 million tons of food grains. It was not enough to feed the entire population. These were the two factors which decided that I should join agricultural stream and do something for the farmers so that the poverty and hunger is elevated. And that is how I continued. I did 12th in agriculture, BSc agriculture, MSc agriculture and plant pathology, PhD in plant pathology with specialization in virology, plant virology from IARI New Delhi. In 1969, completed the degree. That is how I was inducted in agriculture education. And my first appointment as assistant professor was by contact candidate, as a contact candidate at first Farmers University, GB Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, Pantnagar, which was established in 1960. And I served that university for 6 years, then moved to Himachal Pradesh Agriculture University in Shimla and Solan. From there, I went to Rajendra Agriculture University, Pusa district, Samastipur in Bihar. I joined professor and head of the department there. And after serving that university for about 6 years, I shifted to Ranchi at Birsa Agriculture University as Director of Resident Instruction and Dean Postgraduate Studies. I also worked as Director Extension Education, Director Administration, and many other similar assignments in the university. And finally, for some time, I was Vice Chancellor of the university from where I retired in 2008.
This is very
So
motivational.
that is how in brief. Yes,
So when the world is especially when the India was going through a tough phase that they did not have enough food to feed the population. Researchers
that's right.
took up the challenge, and one of the like with this initiative at Researcher Celebrity, Empowering Science Foundation do believe in breaking the barriers. So you broke the
That's
barrier
right.
at a time when nobody, or at least not everyone, was very thoughtful of taking up this challenge to feed the entire nation. People
In fact, yes, during that time, not many people used to offer agriculture education. People were of opinion that there is no scope in agriculture. So I was one who, with deep sense of interest, joined the agriculture education.
see the irony of the situation that the country, as in India, the world known is as a country heavy based on farmers, the agriculture based. And as you
Yes,
mentioned, that at that point of time, when there were not enough universities offering the course or the infrastructure was not very well developed, so we will
I
start
agree.
stage one, that after your master's, because at that time you just do eighth or 10th standard education and then you can get a job easily. And
Yes.
facing the poverty, the challenges to support family. So, in the first place, how and why you chose to pursue a PhD?
In fact, as I said, that I was preparing myself for agriculture education. And when until 1964, even after that, when Indian agriculture services did not come in existence, I joined PhD and decided that I will become scientist now and serve the cause of agriculture. So in fact, during that time, taking admission at IRI was a very difficult task. I had not gone to Delhi earlier. I had never visited Delhi earlier. I went all alone to IRI for giving interview. 6 seats were available. For that, 40 candidates from all over the country were called for interview. Since I had no acquaintance in Delhi, I slept 3 nights at railway platform. I appeared in the interview, waited for my result to come. Next day, result was announced. I was luckily selected, deposited fee, and joined the institute right away. So that is how I joined PhD program and pursued my education.
The challenges which you faced sleeping at the railway station is something which is phenomenal and extraordinary. While
I hope.
So what was
Yes.
the thought when, so did you ever think that what if the result will be negative? If you will not get selected?
No, I was thinking that I will get selected. I was confident. My training was good at Banaras University. Thanks to my professor, Dr. M.S. Paugi. He gave me lot of guidance and pursued me that I should attend the interview at IRI. Very hard taskmaster, highly disciplined, and well-known figure in mycology in the world.
So this brings us to the point of mentoring. As you mentioned, your professor's role in giving you that confidence that when you are appearing for the interview, you were sure
Yes,
that you will get
yes,
selected. So,
sure.
sir, I would like to know your thoughts about the current generation of researchers, the amount of passion, dedication, and this walking that extra mile, which you did. Like, this is something which not many of the researchers in current age, being it student or faculty, can think about sleeping at the railway station or, doing some extra hours when it comes to performing the experiments? Your thoughts and your experiences.
Let me tell you very honestly the way I think. Now, the present trend is that many young people, those who are coming for PhD education, they are not serious about it. They, most of them basically lack aptitude for research. And we also do not screen them properly whether X, Y, Z or X student is really interested in research. Now, what is happening that when majority of them, when they do not get any job after doing master's degree, they go for PhD and spend their time. If they get a job, they leave the PhD program halfway and do not complete the degree. So that attitude, I will call, needs change. Only those who are really interested in research, they should come for PhD degree.
This is something which I personally believe in, that if you are not committed enough to research, PhD can be an academic degree, but not in biological sciences. It
I
needs
agree.
time.
I
So
agree.
I want to know your thoughts on the role of mentorship. So when five students walk into your lab and they show their interest to join your lab for the PhD, what are the
Yes.
methods which you run through and how you have selected students in your career?
Say, as far as selecting a student for PhD degree is concerned, the mentors, the advisors do not have any role. In fact, in most of agriculture university and institutions who are carrying out educational programs in agriculture, they have their central committees for selection of PhD students. Departments are asked only about the availability of seats. So mentors or advisor or heads of department do not play, rather play very small role in selection of the students. But I will advise that there should be an aptitude test for research for any PhD student joining the program.
Yes, absolutely, sir. So when you say that the aptitude test should be there to check that they are well prepared or at least have the passion to pursue their PhD or the research part of it.
Yes,
In current stand like scenario, what we have seen is like students clear all the qualifying exams, join the lab in esteemed institutes or in universities, spend their time in some of the eminent institutes in India. Now there is rotation system also available where PI as well as the student have this opportunity to interact, to spend some time in the lab, make it suit themselves, that if it is good for them or if it is a perfect match for mentor and mentee, and then pursue the PhD. Still, what I've seen
yes.
is the student, after spending 3 4 years, either stepping out of PhD or in very sad cases they commit suicide. Your thoughts about
In fact, uh, the mentor word which is being used currently, I will say they are not mentors, they are advisors.
it? Yeah.
There is a difference between advisor and a mentor.
Mhm.
Now, in the system, especially in land grant system of education, it is advisory committee which takes care of entire problem of student, academic as well as personal. The advisors, so-called mentors, they are guardians of students also. Very often, either because of stress of academic programs pursuing degree or research program, financial problem, even social problems. Very often students go under stress and some of them take very drastic steps like suicides, etc., etc. Their role of advisor is very important. They should work not only as supervisor of their research work, but also as their guardian. They should try to solve their financial problem, their personal problem by counseling and regular follow-up. They should ensure that their advice is being followed by the student. I have done in several cases, including getting the students married also. So involvement of guide, involvement of supervisor is very important to take care of such stresses.
I agree with this, sir. So now this brings us to the next topic of
In fact, let me add one more thing.
yes.
In American universities, there is a very strong advisory system. Students' day-to-day problem is discussed in the advisory committee and amicable solutions are found out. And then I think that relieves the student from stress. We introduced this system in our country also, at least in agriculture, universities and institutions. But we are not following in right letter and spirit.
So, sir, this brings us to the next topic of mental health in students. Once you say that you have selected the PhD student candidate and now the research is going on, we all know that any PhD in the world is not a piece of cake. It is always a roller coaster ride, mostly down, but there are days when the success comes to the student and the advisor is happy with the performance of the student, be it experiments, be it publication, or an award and achievement at national or international level. How a mentor can understand or decide that the student is going through a tough phase, as you mentioned that you have helped your students in every different aspect of their life. What is your suggestion and guidance for the new faculty or faculty who have been in this role for a longer time?
See, my feeling is good research will depend on few things like the supervisor should be well trained. I have my own doubts and questions about the supervisors, many of the supervisors. Their training is not perfect. So you can think of the kind of guidance he will provide. Number two, the quality of research and also the student doesn't go under stress will depend upon many factors. My understanding is that there is a trend that we are not very clear in our objectives. The relevance of research is lost. I am being agriculture scientist, I will talk of farming community. Any research should be for benefit of the society. If it is not for the benefit of society, I think we should not take up such research work. So relevance of research is very important. If we talk of agriculture sciences, our aim should be farmers first and the last. Very often we forget. Now, therefore, the topic of research should be very carefully decided, taking into the need of the society. It must benefit the clientele. Number two, if it is done systematically, for instance, planning is fine, that is planning of the experimentations, implementation, recording of observations, interpretation of observations, publications, and monitoring. These are important steps, and the role of monitor or advisor is very important in all these steps. My feeling is enough freedom should be given to the student for doing research. As advisor, my job will be to facilitate him, to provide all logistics, all facilities, guide him in day-to-day planning execution. What I have seen, as I have been doing, the student plans the experiments, he does the experiment, but I will try to see the results before the student sees the result. I will myself go, and that helps. You will be able to check whether recording by student is done correctly or not. So that is one aspect advisor must ensure. Advisor must regularly watch the activity, given a freedom to the student for the work. And then, of course, the later part is publication. Then patenting, if it is a product to be patented. And you talked of extension education. There has to be an agency that your research programs, your research findings are taken to the benefit of the users. It has to be taken to the field. If it is industrial aspect, it should be industry, and likewise. Otherwise, that research will be meaningless. It is not going to help the society. So, if research is carried out in systematic manner, I am sure students will not go under stress. He will be happy, and then, as advisor, you have to be tough with the student, but soft from inside. You must see his problem and be positive to his all the things which he required.
That is nicely explained, sir. Like the role of advisor should be like coconut, tough from outside,
Right,
but soft from inside. That is very good.
right.
I would like to ask you about the change in research scenario because you have spent more than 5 decades in the field. How you have seen that the either it is infrastructure or the training of the advisors or the students, the quality, how it has changed over these 5 decades.
See, uh, the quality of research has definitely improved, but there is a lot still to be done.
Mhm.
For instance, as I said, the research will have to be timely as per need of the hour. Let me talk about agricultural sciences. Now, the current scenario is that if we take an example of our country, India, holdings are low. Small fragments of land is available with the farmers. The irony of the things have been that we have not been able to develop technology for poor, for farmers having low land holdings, small land holdings. So technology for resource poor farmers, technology considering the change in environment. The environment is very changing very fast. Temperature is rising. Sometimes there is a more of rain, sometimes drought, and so on. All these changes will complicate the agriculture, the farming. Many diseases, many pests will become serious and are becoming serious. Many new disease pests will emerge. The time of sowing, time of planting, time of harvest will change because it is all dependent upon weather conditions like temperature, rains, etc. There are many such things. What all I have to say in nutshell, that we must be alive to the present situation and modify our research programs to suit the requirement of today's need.
Sir, you brought out a very important topic about, so all we know, the entire world has accepted that India is full of potential and very fertile brains, the innovation which we comes up with. You mentioned about the need for innovation for low land holding farmers, how we can help them. So, how important is the role of extension to help them?
Right. It's very important because extension, the job is that they will take the technology to the field, demonstrate the potential of the technology, and spread the technology among the farmers. So role of extension is very important, and for that we have been doing trainings, kisan melas, and all those things to spread the technology. But uh, it needs more expansion, more investment, and more dedication to take the technology to the farmers.
Mhm. So, what do you think that is a roadblock in helping or for doing all this journey, which you just mentioned about these three different steps?
Okay, few things I would like to say here. I take example of universities and many research institutions. As per our Act and statutes, these institutions are autonomous body. But autonomy without financial autonomy is meaningless. Institutions, especially universities, state universities, they don't have their own budget. Budget comes through the Department of Agriculture, and they have to depend on Department of Agriculture for finance, for everything. So this autonomy is not, I will not call it autonomy unless there is a financial autonomy. Number one, the budget of the institutions and universities should be separate. Number two, research scientists face difficulty in day-to-day work. They submit the project, they bring the money from other agencies, but that grant is with the financial advisor of the institution. They create hassle very often. They take time in releasing the fund. Unnecessary queries are made. The scientists feel discouraged. This should stop. This doesn't pay. Number three, scientists and teachers, those who are engaged in research, very often they are put on duties which are not part of their job. For instance, election duty, I take example, though this is important. But there are other kind of people who should take election duties, etc., and so many other things, administrative work, and so on and so forth. So research scientists should devote their maximum time in research for which they have been appointed, and they should be facilitated. The managers, so-called dean, directors of the universities and institution, they are managers. They should ensure that facilities are made available to the scientists as and when they need. Let us not linger upon, let us not put hurdles that facility is not provided, though money is there, money is not released. There are problems in making purchases, chemicals, etc., etc., etc. So managers should facilitate the research workers, which is lacking in most of the institutions.
I wish more of the administration people can understand your passion and the feelings for research that will make our life so easy in India. And
Sure.
so now let's talk about the challenges in getting funding in India.
I tell you, there is no dearth of fund is available. And the only thing that your project should be sound, it should be technically sound, it should yield the results. I think fund is not at all a problem in our country now. There is
Nice.
enough fund and uh, support is enough.
Great. This is good to know. So you just about the service portion, like where scientists are asked to perform duties which are not related to research, neither
Yes,
administration or some other duties which are solely either administration or some other, as you mentioned about the voting duties and all. So
yes.
what are the options a scientist have to do this, and what you suggest to the administration that how this can be handled?
No, I'm not very clear as to what you want to know.
So I'm saying that when you mention about the service component where a scientist, a researcher is asked to do things which are not of either his expertise or where the work can be done by someone else so that they can devote their time to research. What are the solutions to this which you can suggest to the administration?
Solution is that they should follow the mandate. I take example, those who come in teaching and research, they have defined hours. Rather, they have to spend more. If one is appointed in teaching, he has to devote more time, two-thirds of his time in teaching and one-third in research. And if it is in research, two-thirds in research and one-third in teaching, one-third. So therefore, let us adhere to these norms. And I would not say that to the extent it is possible, they should do their job for which they have been appointed. They should not be asked to do job for which they are not trained. They cannot justify. They cannot do the just with the job.
So sticking to mandate is your solution to this, and it is very nice
Yes.
if that can be done. So now we'll talk about the role of time management in research at different stages. So your guidance at the level for a PhD student, for an early faculty, for a faculty which is going through the transition from assistant professor to professor or to becoming a head of the department, how they should allocate their time for different activities, because student only have to do their research experiment. Faculty have to submit the grants, run those grants, and supervise the PhD students. And it goes on more complex when it goes to the higher in the chain, like for a chancellor, it is about the administration, HR, all the issue, all the components they have to take care of. So how they should manage their time.
Sorry. In fact, when you are in research or teaching, there is no time limit.
Mhm.
You have to perform duties beyond working hours as well.
Mhm.
I remember when we were young scientists, we used to stay in laboratory up to 10 o'clock. Sometimes we used to sleep in the laboratory because experiment is still running. So it is full-time job. Sometimes you have to work for 18 hours, 20 hours, and one should do it. And those who are devoted, who have scientific bent of mind, they do it and they manage their time. The only thing is, apart from teaching, the hours of teaching are limited for any teacher. After teaching, one should devote time for research and spend maximum time with the students while they are doing their research, PhD students especially. So we have been managing like that. Uh, Hours was not the limitation. Number of hours was never the limitation with us.
This passion, I believe, can be taken forward within our generation, current generation, and future generations of researchers. and to take India to next level of heights. So, sir, now when we are walking towards the edge of the conversation, I would like to ask you one of the very interesting question, which I'm sure you might have heard so many times I've been asked.
Mm.
What made you walk all this many years that all the field experiments, all the challenges, either it is administration or family or the other challenges which you have faced in your life, you still chose to be a researcher and to be a mentor and to facilitate, next generation of researchers? What made you kept going?
The only thing was that I should do something to boost up the yield and elevate the poverty. That was one force which gave me impetus to remain in the research and academic administration. I have nothing, no other words to explain.
Thank you very, very much, sir. And I wish that our new generation of researchers can have the same passion to serve the society, to serve the community, and make India a better place for research as well as for more, taking the research out of the lab to the farmers or to the society in general. With this,
Thank you.
say to all the audience and viewers, you should take examples around you. And when you see a researcher celebrity conversation, like today we have Dr. Dubey with us, sir has taught so many important lessons of life, either like especially focusing on research, either it is time management or it is about the transparency, talking to your mentor, role of mentor and mentee both, and especially sir said advisor. They should be guardian also. They should be like coconut, very hard on outside because they have to train a next generation of researchers, but should be soft inside with that human touch that you can understand. You should understand that a student is going through a rough phase, and when they are going through a good phase, you should be able to analyze and help them because their success is ultimately what you want to see and will help you in success. So with this, I will say stay tuned for other episodes of Researcher Celebrity. And I will say thank you very, very much, Professor Dubey, for giving this conversation to the upcoming generation of researchers. Thank you very much from Empowering Center.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.